next hour, join Steve and his guests as they talk about topics geared to educate and inform his audience. Listen as Steve brings his unique experiences as an author, business leader, teacher, and law enforcement professional to the conversation. Together with outstanding guests, Steve asks the questions that make a difference in his listeners' lives. You're guaranteed to be better off after you listen to the Kovacs perspective than before his show started. So, sit back, relax, and see what his show can do for you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kovacs Perspective. For those of you that aren't familiar, the Kovacs Perspective is all about getting some of the best guests on the face of the globe and picking their brain, expertise, and knowledge to make you, me also, and everyone who listens smarter and better off. Simple. That's what we're all about. This is a simple fact, and while doing it, the good news is we usually have fun. We laugh, we smile, and enjoy the time we share together. We really do. Life's too short not to, is the way I look at it. That's an old cliche, life's too short, you got to enjoy it, but it really is. So we pick brains here, we get information, we get to the bottom, we really get good stuff going, and we smile and enjoy ourselves while we do it. And by the way, in case you don't know, I am Steve Kovacs. I'm your host, and rest assured, you'll be better off. You will be better off after you listen and or watch our shows than before you tuned in. And if not, you get 100, listen to this, you get 100% money back guarantee. Nah, I'm kidding, of course. This is a freebie. There's no money involved here. It's free for you to enjoy. Okay, this week's show is about what, ladies and gentlemen? It's about something that's killing hundreds of thousands of people yearly, if not more. It's about something that is right now in the process of killing some of your friends, neighbors, and possibly loved ones, and possibly yourself also. If it's not killing right now, it's causing thousands to get ill. And you know what? This is the big thing for me. It's totally preventable. What am I talking about? Terrorism? No. Some crazy out of control virus? No, not now. Maybe one day. There's some talk about some viruses that are getting out of hand, but that's not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about is smoking. Yeah, smoking. Our guest for our entire 1 hour show is an expert on everything smoking, not just the same old. And this is what's very important to me today, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that same old regurgitated info about smoking and how we have to quit. It's not. I researched into this guest we're going to have, this book we're going to be talking about. It's not the same old run-of-the-mill. It's an award-winning book and tons of awards, as a matter of fact. It's really different. You cannot miss this. Stay tuned right here to hear innovative, new approaches, or better put, ladies and gentlemen, better way to word this to you, new ways of explaining life and death information regarding smoking for you and people that you care about. Our guest is a teacher, lawyer, and author. She wrote the book Smoking, 201 Reasons to Quit, which, get this, ladies and gentlemen, get this, especially for me, because I wrote a book. Took 7 years to finish. 7 years. So much research went into the text that it took so long. So this is different, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, without me just gabbing, because I really want to get into this program. It's not going to be the same old kind of chat thing, because there's so much information to cover, and I want to do that. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest, Muriel L. Crawford. How are you, Muriel?
I'm just fine, Steve, and thank you.
Well, you don't even have to say thank you, because, Muriel, I looked at your book, and I don't have your book, but I have... ladies and gentlemen, those of you listening, in this, when you're a host, you get media kits and you get information about people that you may want to interview. And Muriel, you had so much information, so much different information about smoking. I loved it. So you say thank you to me. I appreciate it, but I certainly say thank you to you. And Muriel, you are probably not familiar with the Kovacs Perspective, but let me tell you how we usually do it. We usually chat and really talk about one little topic for about 8-9 minutes sometimes. But this is you've got so much information here, and there are so many people dying, hurting, and wanting to quit smoking. So I'm going to ask you for a favor, Muriel. I want to pick your brain and almost shotgun some questions at you, and please help me and help the folks out there that are trying to quit. Can you work with me on that? Let's just, as they say sometimes, kick butt and take names and really help folks today.
I sure will. This is my passion, to help people quit, because my father died a horrible death from his smoking. He was in a wheelchair from emphysema. He got a stroke, so he was sitting in a wheelchair, paralyzed, with an oxygen tube in his nose, and he still said, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." Finally died of a massive heart attack, and his doctor said this was all caused by his heavy smoking.
So that's what motivated you. That's how you got your passion.
That's how I got, there was another thing. My brother, when he was 17, he was a smoker, and he was going around a curvy mountain road in Oregon. He leaned down to light a cigarette. He went off the road. He turned over the car, and the girl sitting next to him was killed.
Ugh.
So we had a couple of family tragedies happen from smoking. Actually, we've had more than that, because we had a grandfather died, young from heart disease. Probably would have lived longer if he hadn't been a heavy smoker.
Muriel, I'll bet you $100. And it's notice how brave I am betting $100 when you're in California and I'm in Ohio doing the show. So I'm a little bit gutsy to risk my money, but I'll bet you that everybody listening live, and everybody that will listen to this either on YouTube or Ustream or just in a podcast version knows somebody that has been killed by smoking. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. I talk to everybody about this topic, and I've never talked to anybody who wasn't impacted by smoking in some way or other. Never. Because you'd have to live on another planet just about.
You would, wouldn't you? You'd have to live on some desert island with Gilligan and marry, Gilligan and the captain and all that on Gilligan's Island. I mean, everybody's touched by it. Your book is called 201 Reasons to Quit. Are there really is there 201 reasons to quit? Or
oh no, there are many more. But I had to quit somewhere, I guess. I suppose I've overwhelmed people with 201 reasons, but there are reasons that have come out since the book was written. For instance, 3 studies. One was that I just read about was about kidney disease caused by smoking, and that makes perfect sense because smoking hurts blood vessels. Kidneys have lots of blood vessels, so kidney disease is much more common in smokers. Just read that. And I read that restless leg syndrome is made worse by smoking. So there are at least 203 reasons. Oh, well, okay. Yesterday, I read that it's a risk factor for colon cancer, a big killer. So it keeps growing. The number of
it's
reasons.
Growing, and we segued right into where I want to jump into with both feet. I want to talk about, most people know what it does to you or to other people, but there's some things I don't think people are really up on, and that's what I want to talk to you about. And your book covers this. And ladies and gentlemen, you've got to get this book if you're into smoking and into it and trying to get out of it, because this book is not only can be used by you and me, the average person that may want to quit. And I quit 8 years ago, by the way, but by professionals that deal with addiction, that deal with patients that are trying to quit. So this is a cool book in that regard. Muriel, my big question that I'd like to start off with, what's the worst thing that smoking does to the body? Is there a worst thing?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. The worst thing, I think, is that it's a major cause of heart disease, cancer, stroke, and chronic lung disease, which is emphysema and chronic bronchitis. And these diseases are the greatest killers of Americans, and they also cause terrible disabilities, as I was describing with my father. I think that's the worst thing it does to a smoker. But there are so many other things it does, too, and it depends on the individual, what happens to them as a result of smoking.
Muriel, but doesn't it take like years and years? So, let's say if I'm a young kid, I'm 16, 17, and I say, hey, I'm 16, I want to be kind of cool. I'll smoke until I go to college. Doesn't it take 10 years or 15 years for it to cause damage, or fill me in on the facts behind that.
No. Smoking begins to damage the body immediately. You get carbon monoxide in your blood. You start to, immediately it will raise your blood pressure. So it starts to work immediately. Fortunately, the younger you are when you quit, the more healing power your body has. So I would really encourage people to quit young, but of course if you don't have that option, it's never too late to quit either. Even quitting at age 65 adds 2 years to a man's life expectancy and almost 4 to a woman's. And even quitting in your 70s or beyond will improve your heart, lungs, blood vessels, help prevent blood clots, slow emphysema. You don't get rid of emphysema that you've already got because, that's a done deal. But you can slow the progression. It can slow bone thinning, which is something I think people don't realize, that smoking is very bad for the bones. It's bad.
I never knew that. And
body.
I also never knew it was bad for the brain. Did I read information about your book correctly? It's bad for our brains?
Absolutely. Smokers are almost twice as likely to get Alzheimer's disease as non-smokers. And then there's vascular dementia, which is the second most common cause of dementia. Vascular
really?
dementia.
I never knew that. Wow.
No, a lot of people don't know that. That's why I wrote this book. You're not alone.
No, Muriel, and I'll get into it later about how I quit and that I'll never smoke again. It's been about 8 years, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I learned. But before we get into that, this amazes me. And also, now this can't be right. Now, did I read this incorrectly? Smoking can mess with our eyes and our hearing too?
Oh, big time. Smoking doubles your risk of developing cataracts. Now, luckily, cataracts can be cured with an operation. They implant a lens in your eye, and they can fix that. But there's another thing. Age-related macular degeneration is very hard to treat. Many older people lose their vision from this. As a matter of fact, it's a leading cause of vision loss in people over 60. And smokers are 2 to 3 times more. It's 2 to 3 times more common in smokers. Age-related macular degeneration. It's really a terrible thing. Causes disability again.
Sure. No, my father has that. He wasn't a smoker, but he has it. It's a terrible illness. It's a very hard thing to deal with. Muriel, we're going to go to a commercial in a minute. And some people are watching us on YouTube. They will not watch this live. And I'm going to explain how they can watch the show in its entirety in a second. But people can quit. Anybody can quit, correct?
Absolutely. Half of the Americans who have ever been addicted to nicotine have quit. We've got half the rate of smoking in this country than we used to have.
Okay,
so
Muriel, let me stop you there. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to watch if you're on YouTube watching this later down the line, not our live broadcast, you can go to the kovacsperspective.com and watch the show in its entirety, find out how you can quit, or throughouroureyes.org, either of those sites, and you can watch this show all the way. We'd love to have you there, and I'm glad you watched if you're from YouTube. And ladies and gentlemen, the rest of you, we will be back after these short announcements.
We'll be right back with Steve and his guests right after these few messages.